today we're going to learn the second law, or the other law that we use when it comes to oblique triangles. Yesterday we looked over the sine law, and we said that with the sine law, I need to have an angle and its opposite side, and another piece of information, either a side or an angle, to be able to solve for the other angles and sides. With the cosine law, it's all the other situations, okay? So if I don't have an angle and its opposite side, then I have to kind of use the cosine law, okay? So cosine law, again, is used with oblique triangles, and then it's used when I don't have an angle and its opposite side. We're not going to go over how they came up with the cosine law because I don't really care about this part. We're going to go over the formulas and then how to use the formulas. So, in order for you to be able to use the cosine law, you need to have one of these two scenarios. You either need to have two sides and the contained angle, so the angle between the two sides. So in this scenario, if you look at this, I don't have an angle and its opposite side, right? What I have here is I have two sides and the contained angle, okay? So if that's the case, that would be angle A, for example. This is angle B, this is angle C. I know side C and I know side B, okay? And I know angle A. So in this scenario, I can solve for side A, all right? Cosine law allows me to solve for side A. And the formula is the following. Because I'm looking for side A, it will be A squared equals to B squared plus C squared, because I know both B and C, right? So it will be B squared plus C squared minus 2BC cosine angle A. And that's why it's called the cosine law, because we use a cosine formula in there. Okay? So, in this case, I know side B and side C, and I know angle A. All right? So it will be B squared plus C squared, because these are the two sides that I know. Take away 2BC multiplied by cos angle A. When you finish this formula, or when you finish plugging in your information and finding the answer, it's going to give you A squared, right? So you have to do the square root to find just the side A. Okay? Now, if I have, for example, angle B, which two sides should I have? C and A. So I should be given C and A. Okay? And then what side can I look for? I can look for side B. Okay? And what would be your formula? Yeah. 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 Exactly. Right? Now, you can come up with this formula as long as you know the idea of it. You can come up with the letters. Your letters could be X, Y, Z. Or it could be L, M, N. Right? Doesn't matter what your letters are, as long as you know what you're given and what you're looking for. Now, the actual formulas, which is the A squared equals B squared plus C squared, whatever, are in your notes and they're in your formula sheet. Okay? But then it's a matter of knowing that if they change the letters, how can you change the letters with respect to the formula? Okay? And same with if I'm looking for C squared, right? What must I know? looking for side C, what should I know?
The AC and BC, right?
I need to know side A and side B
And the C
and angle C.
angles.
Yeah, and angle C. And that would be what would be the formula? A squared plus B squared minus 2AB cosine C. Now this is one of the scenarios is when you have the two sides and the contained angle. Okay? The other scenario to use a cosine law is if I have all three sides. No angle is given. Okay? I know all three sides. If I know all three sides, if I know all three sides, right, I can look for any of the angles. And all what I have to do, if I decide, let's say, I want to solve for angle A, I can rearrange the first formula, which is a squared plus b squared minus equals b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cos A. I can rearrange this to solve for the angle. Okay? Now I'm going to give you the formula. We'll look at the first formula together as if they have isolated it. Okay? And then we can come up with the other formulas. So if I'm looking for angle A, first of all, it's going to be cosine A, right? Because I'm isolating for this part, right? And it's going to be the following. Now, this is after I did some simplifying, okay? The formula will become like this. B squared plus C squared, take away A squared over 2BC, okay? Let's isolate this together. I just want to isolate this together just to see the difference. You don't write it here, please. Okay, I'm just gonna write it here so I can show you what's happening. So I'm starting with A squared equals B squared plus C squared minus 2BC cosine, right? And I want to isolate for cosine. What's the first thing that I want to move over? Because I want cosine by itself. What's the first thing I want to move?
Cosine A.
Nope, I want to leave cosine A here.
To leave it.
What's the first thing I have to move over? B squared and C squared, right? Because these are the one that's added to the cos, right? So I'm going to have to move minus B squared, right? Minus C squared equal to negative 2BC cos A, right? So I moved the B squared and the C squared over. Now what else do I have to get rid of? I have to get rid of the minus 2BC, right? Because they're multiplied by the cos A, how do you get rid of them? Divide by negative 2BC. I have to divide both sides by negative 2BC, right? Because then here and here, they cancel each other, and I'll be left just with cos A, right? So if you look at this and this, they kind of look the same, but with a lot of more negative in this side than in this side. So what I can do, because I have a negative here at the bottom, I can actually factor out a negative from here, right? And that becomes, if I factor out a negative, it becomes B squared plus C squared minus A squared, right? Because this is a positive. If you factor a negative out, it becomes a negative. B squared becomes a positive, C squared becomes a positive. And divided by negative 2BC, so the negative and the negative cancel each other. And you'll be left with a much cleaner formula, okay? The formula is now, doesn't have a lot of negatives in there, okay? So this is how they come up with this formula. It's not like magic, right? It's isolating, it's moving things around.
You can do an easier way and change the place of A and the
Yes, you can.
ABC, the cosine, the other side. So
Yeah,
you can,
so you can bring this over here,
yeah,
and then you can bring this over here. You can do that if you want as well.
instead of just to do the third
You
part.
can if you want, yeah. That would also be one, okay? Now, Again, these formulas will be given to you, but I want you to know if the letters are X, Y, Z, I want you to know how to come up with these formulas. What would be the formula if I'm looking for angle B? A squared plus C squared minus B squared over 2AC, right? Remember that whatever you're subtracting, right, the letter that you're subtracting is the same thing as the angle, is the match up with the angle, okay? Now, if I find this answer at the end, would that give me the angle?
So the
Or do I need to solve for the angle?
the opposite operation.
Inverse. The cos inverse. So I have to do the cos inverse to find the angle. Perfect. So I have here cosine C is going to be A squared plus B squared minus C squared over 2A. Anyone have any questions with these formulas? Now, the important part also when you're doing this is how to enter it in the calculator, or if you're not going to enter it in the calculator altogether, how to solve for it properly. Now, let's look at the first one. So I have, what do I have here? Two sides and a contained angle, right? The contained angle. So because I have the two sides and the contained angle, this is side A, this is side C, and I'm looking for side B, right? So what would be my formula? B squared equal C squared, or A squared plus C squared, minus, perfect. Now let's plug in the information. Okay, so 20 squared plus 25 squared minus 2 times 20 times 25 cosine 48. Now, when you do this on the calculator, you either have to put it all together in the calculator, or you have to do this one, then plus, you're going to do this one, then minus, and then you're going to do this whole thing all together. Okay? Because remember that mass takes over here, all right? Where you have to do the exponents, but then you have to do all the multiplication together. Then you can add. Okay? So you can do everything all together, or you can just do the squares, the whatever is in the square together. Okay? What are you going to do? What kind of calculators do you guys have? I think all your calculators, you can do everything all together. So what do you get for B squared? So 355.86. All right. Now to find B, what do? Square root. Right? To find B, you're going to have to square root, and then what would be your answer? So 18.9. And the unit is centimeter.
should do
Technically
like-
speaking, I wouldn't, I would not round here. I would keep whatever the number is in the calculator and I square root that, and that would be my correct answer.
So it's like 864.
Yes.
You keep that.
Yeah.
Then
And what would be your answer for that? When you square root that? Right? So can I just use your calculator for a second? So if I do 20 squared plus 25 squared minus 2 times 20 times 25 times cosine 48, I get this whole number.
Yeah.
Technically speaking, I just do the square root of the answer, and that would be mine. Okay? Are we okay with this? Anyone having problem entering these in the calculator? We're good? All right. How about the second example? I have all the sides and then I'm looking for an angle, so I have to use
The second
second formulas. Yeah. So I'm looking for angle A, so it's gonna be cos A equals B squared minus A squared over 2BC. Okay? So this is side C, this is side B, and this is side A. So that's going to be 38 squared plus 26 squared minus 30 squared over 2 times 38 times 26. When you enter this in the calculator, eyes on me for a second. If you have the fraction button, that's good. If you don't, you must enter this in bracket and this in bracket. Or, the best way to do it for you guys, find the top, write it down. Find the bottom, write it down, then do your division. Okay? Unless you have that fraction button, then you can enter it properly in a calculator with no ways of brackets in there. When you find this answer, you need it to at least for decimal place because this is your ratio. This is cosine A, and it's going to be 0 point something. Has to be 0 point something. What do you 0.6174. The more numbers you can include, the better and the more accurate your answer is. Okay? What happens after this? How can I find my angle?
Reverse.
The inverse.
Inverse.
Okay? So that's going to be A is equal to cos inverse of 0. And then what do you get for this? degrees, and is that like all rounded and perfect? Excellent. So remember that your angles should be to the nearest degree. So that's going to be 52 degrees. Are we good with that? Are we good with that? Are we having problems with entering in the calculator? No? We're good? All right. Let's look at the next question. directions from a marked tree on the blue strip. The angle formed between their path measures 50 degrees. After 2 hours, one hiker is 6 kilometers from the starting point, and the other is 9 kilometers from the starting point. How far apart are the hikers to the nearest tenth of a kilometer? So what I would like you to do, I would like you to draw a picture, and I would like you to label it with all the numbers and whatever, and then check it with the person sitting next to you.